Hello everyone, how's it going? It's Matt here, and today, as you can tell, I am doing something quite a bit different. I thought it'd be fun to do a tier list and rank the common rifles used for PRS-Style rimfire competitions. So here in Canada, like the CRPS and ORPS series, the NRS, and of course NRL 22. So those types of competitions, we have some fairly common options on the market in terms of rifles, and I get questions fairly often about which rifle I recommend, and so I thought this would be kind of a fun way to talk about the rifles and discuss them a little bit. So if you're not familiar with these tier lists, I think it's really popular in like the gaming world, so people will rank their favorite video game characters and stuff like that. I've never seen anyone do it for anything firearms related, probably for good reason, but again, I thought this would be kind of a cool way to get some discussion and my opinions on the rifles and rank them, so you can see exactly where I would place them if I had to rank them. So the tiers go from A, B, C, D, obviously D being the worst, and then there's S, which is better than an A. I think it stands for like super or supreme. And at the bottom here we have, I believe, 21 different rifles that I wanted to talk about, and these are probably going to be the most common options again for these PRS style rimfire competitions. How I have them laid out here: the first the first 7 rifles I'll be ranking are production division rifles, at least here in Canada, following the ORPS production division rules. And then I guess the remaining 14 are open division rifles, so a little bit more expensive, a little bit more premium. I actually just realized I did a mistake. The Bergara BMR is a production division, so I guess that's 8 and 13. So 8 production and 13 open that we'll be ranking today. So let's just get to it. I'll talk a little bit about my opinions and rank them in these tiers. Before I start that, I should probably mention the criteria I'm using to rank these is going to be your dollar value, reliability in general, so what I've experienced personally and what I've seen on the firing line, the aftermarket support for each rifle, parts availability, so if you need to replace, for example, like a broken firing pin, how easy is that to acquire, again here in Canada, overall quality and craftsmanship of said rifle we're looking at, and finally, and most importantly, my personal and very biased views towards some things. So I'm sure some people are gonna maybe get angry and disagree with me. This is totally for fun, guys. I'm just trying to find a fun way to discuss some rifles. So with that in mind, let's start with, of course, the Savage B22. I hope my screen share shows my cursor because I'm going to use it to point. I probably should have checked that, but I'm pointing right now at this thing, which is the Savage B22. Obviously, we're starting with the production division rifles, and there was kind of a joke last year when I first started PRS style rimfire matches that the production division was kind of like the Savage division because they were all within that price point, and the vast majority of production shooters, if it wasn't a 1022, it was a Savage, and there's nothing wrong with that. I will say now that the price limits have been bumped up for production division, it opens it a lot more to some really neat options, but the Savage B22 was like the go-to rifle for production, and I think it's for good reason. It's fairly reliable. Granted, the Savage rifles have had a little history with poor extraction depending on what ammunition you're using, especially CCI for some reason, but it seems like for the most part Ely and SK work fine, and again, it seems like a really solid option, great value for money. The reliability, as I mentioned, is good. Aftermarket support doesn't really matter for production division rifles because you can't really modify them anyway, or else you bump it up to an open class rifle. Parts availability here in Canada is great because for those of you who aren't aware, all the Savage rimfires are made in Canada. I believe it's in Lakefield, Ontario, which is awesome. So I kind of have a soft spot for that, and it makes getting parts here in Canada a lot easier. So definitely very good. Overall quality is what you would expect in the price point, and we see a ton of them on the firing line. So I think it's like a solid A minus rifle. I can't talk this much about each rifle. This is going to be like a 1-hour video. So let's move on quickly. Savage Mark II is basically the older older design of the Rimfire bolt actions from Savage. It's still produced, and I actually had a Mark II for quite some time. I actually dropped it in an MDT chassis before I sold it. Great rifle, same sort of accuracy and reliability as the B22, but the bigger downside is the magazine sticks out from the bottom of the rifle, so you don't have that nice flush base for shooting off of barricades and even offhand stages. It's kind of nice to have that flush rotary magazine that the B22 has. So I'm going to rank it very similarly to the B22, but less, so like an A-. Again, good value and easy parts here in Canada. Going on to the A22, this is their semi. I'm going to put it in a C because it's, to me, not really precision oriented. It's more like a fun plinker. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you presented me an A22 or a regular 1022 to shoot one of these like NRL 22 style matches with, I would take the 1022. So I guess I'll just put that right now in a B. Solid option for production division. Again, not the most accurate, but it's a fun rifle if you want to modify it in the future. Obviously 1022s have infinite amounts of aftermarket compatibility. Obviously it would bump it up to an open, division rifle, but if you wanted to start it in production and work your way into an open rig eventually, 1022 is a good option. I personally favor bolt guns for PRS style shooting, so again, this is kind of like my biased personal views coming into play here. Let's move on to the Marlin 795. I put this rifle in this list because I've just seen it a couple times at these matches, and I'm going to put it as a D tier. I think overall value is okay. Definitely more of a plinking rifle than precision oriented. Reliability is where it really takes a hit. The couple I've seen at matches seem to jam all the time, both feeding and extraction issues. Yeah, I think D tier. There's definitely better options. I would definitely look for a used 1022 over even a new 795. And again, I need to put this out there. Don't think like you need to go out and buy a rifle to try these competitions or these matches. You can bring whatever you have just to have fun. You're going to have an absolute blast if all you have is a 795 and you just want to come out and try the match. By all means, bring what you have. Don't buy anything until you know you like the sport, this shooting discipline, and then spend your money where you feel like it. Again, this is for people who ask me, hey, I want to buy a rifle. What do you think of XYZ? So this is what we're doing today. Let's move on to the Tikka T1x, the MTR version, which is now a production division rifle as per the ORPS rules. The T1x is awesome. Really good value for your money, and it shoots well, and Tikkas make a pretty nice rifle. I'm tempted to put this in the S tier because it's pretty awesome. It is kind of expensive though, actually. Here in Canada, I believe they retail for over 600. They're like close to 700 bucks. So because of that, I'm going to put it in an A tier. Not as good value as I originally thought. But again, aftermarket support, if you want to build it into an open rig, you can do that fairly easily. And overall quality is pretty top notch. So I'm going to put it as an A tier. Very good rifle from Tikka. The next one here is very interesting. This is not available yet, at least not in Canada. I've never seen one in the flesh, but this is the newly announced Bergara BMR. This is their micro action. And what's really cool about this is it fits within the production division price point. I actually forgot about it. That's why it doesn't have a text overlay, because I just pulled the image off the interwebs quickly. But the BMR is very promising. It is not a 700 footprint action, obviously, being a micro action, but it does take 700 triggers, which is really cool because, again, you're getting a really nice product from Bergara, which is known to make nice rifles. It's probably very accurate, and if you wanted to make it into an open rig, you could put like a Trigger Tech diamond on it and have a half-pound trigger pull, if that's what floats your boat. And I really like Bergara rifles in general. I think are quality. Again, we haven't seen them out in the wild yet, so who knows, like, as long as the design doesn't suck and it's not unreliable, on paper it's very, very promising. For the price point especially, I believe it's around the same as the T1X, so it's like an A+. I'm gonna put it at an A+, above the T1X on paper. Again, I've yet to see one or handle one, but it seems like a very cool idea. I feel like Bergara is very aware of what the market wants, what shooters are actually looking for in PRS-Style rimfire. A lot of other companies are seemingly like kind of oblivious, or perhaps there's so much bureaucracy in the company that they can't really make quick changes to their rifles quickly, but Bergara seems to come out with really cool options for these types of competitions. All right, next up is the 457 synthetic. Let me just get another drink of water here. So all the 457s, of course, have a soft spot in my heart, because if you follow the channel, you know I've had a couple 457s. I've had 3 of them. I currently only have 1 now. I actually bought the 457 synthetic for my wife, and then we turned it into an open rig. We dropped it into a KRG Bravo and everything. It's an awesome rifle. Because of my personal biased views, I'm going to put it in S tier. It is cheaper than the T1X, and between the two, I would go with the 457. Better aftermarket support for parts and stuff and accessories. So if you want to build it into an open rig, you have a little bit more options than the Tikka currently. It kind of helps that the 455 was super popular. So when the 457 came out, it already kind of had that track record of being a very good rimfire platform. So I really like the 457. The reliability of all the 457s I have handled and used extensively. Like I have over 20,000 rounds in the last 2 years through 457s, mainly just one of them. One of my 457s has about 15,000 rounds through it. And it's been rock solid in reliability. And that is very important for this shooting discipline. So I'm going to put it in S tier. Again, you're probably going to get similar performance with the Bergara and T1X, but I just haven't handled them, you know, personally as much. I've shot a lot of rounds through the 457, so I trust it, and it is an S tier for me. Very good value for money as well. And I believe that wraps up our production level rifles. So kind of take a snapshot of this. This is kind of where I would rank the more common options for your production stuff. 457 at the top. Again, we have yet to see the BMR, but I think this is a pretty good ranking. I don't think I would change anything. So let's go on to the open division rifles, which is a little bit more, I guess, interesting for discussion. So first off, we have an Anschutz. Now, this is kind of representing all Anschutz because they're not actually very common for PRS-Style shooting. And that's probably because Anschutz just isn't really focused in that shooting discipline, which is totally fine. They make exceptional rifles, obviously, for bench rest and biathlon. They're very known for making a pretty top-notch product. There is one Annie rifle that's like in a chassis kind of designed for PRS-Style shooting. I've only seen one of them on the firing line, and they are quite expensive as well. Also, a lot of them, some of their actions have a magazine release that's very sensitive, I guess, and I've seen people drop mags accidentally on the firing line before. I don't know if that's a huge issue. I don't really have much experience with an Annie, but I know there's a lot of Annie lovers out there, and I get asked about them quite often. However, again, since their focus is not really on PRS-Style shooting, and I feel like there's better value for your money, I'm going to put it at a C+. That's probably going to piss off a lot of people, but that's just my honest opinion. You don't see many of them on the firing line, and again, it's probably because they concentrate on other shooting disciplines. By the way, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. We're talking about the big 3 kind of custom 700 short action footprint actions at the end. So obviously the Vudoo, the RimX, and now the Ultimatum Deuce are like your super high-end custom 700 short action footprint rimfire rifles. That's quite a mouthful, but those are going to be the last 3 I talk about. Let's go to the Bergara B14r. This is a really cool offering from Bergara. It is the only production rifle that I know of in a rimfire platform in the 700 short action footprint, and they're offering it for a great price. It's cool too because you can buy a full rifle in steel or carbon barreled options, or you can buy those in just a barreled action, which is really neat. So again, this really shows that Bergara is aware of what people want, because a lot of people just want the barreled action so they can just drop it in whatever chassis or stock they want, and it it seems to be functioning pretty good. I have heard of a few reliability issues. Now, I've mentioned this before in other videos, but with any 700 platform or footprint rimfire platform, you have more potential for issues because the fit of your rifle with the magazine position is crucial. And obviously when you drop it into all these different chassis and stocks, you have a lot of different tolerances, so your rifle setup is crucial, or else it's more prone to having issues. The Bergara B14Rs, even in the factory stocks, will sometimes have issues, usually surrounding ejection, it looks like. But for the most part, I think they function fairly well. And I really like the price point too. So I'm going to put it kind of up here. It's like a solid A, I would say, if you want a 700 footprint for your rimfire, because obviously aftermarket support for that is infinite. You can do whatever you want with it, which is a big thing for a lot of people. And you can get into the 700 footprint rimfire for much cheaper than the custom actions, you know, that we'll talk about in the end. There also is now aftermarket barrels for the B14R, and so it's just great. I kind of wish they had a longer barrel out of the box. I believe it's 18 inches. And I wish it was also a heavier profile for the steel version. Obviously, if you go carbon, you want to save weight. But it would have been cool if they offered the steel version out of the box with like a 20-inch heavy profile barrel. It would have been a really cool option. But yeah, solid A. Let's go now to the 457 LRP. Now the LRP is kind of representing all their match grade 457 options, because there's like 50 different 457 models out there now. Now obviously I have a soft spot for the 457s because I had an MTR and I really like it. Again, I think dollar wise it's still great. I want to put it in S tier again because I'm just so biased towards the 457. It really is awesome. You have a lot of aftermarket support like I've talked about, and if you just want to buy the LRP and just use it as is out of the box, the stock is good enough to get you started. It's actually quite nice. It's made from beechwood, I believe, and has all the adjustability you want. Yeah, solid S tier. It's good for the price. Here in Canada, it's like $1,300 for the LRP, or like around $850 to $900 for the MTR. They have match grade chambers, match grade barrels, and they shoot very well. So S tier. Next up is a Kid 1022, again representing kind of any sort of super custom 1022 that's not from Ruger. I would put this as maybe like a B plus to an A minus, I think is fair. B plus. Again, I'm personally more of a bolt action guy, but if you like to run semis, obviously the way to go is to build up a custom 1022 because there's really no super precision oriented semi on the market yet. So if you get something like a Volquartsen barrel or a Kid barrel, they shoot very well paired with, you know, a match grade bolt. But they are kind of expensive. I feel like if you really like the semis, then it's worth your money. But if you're getting a bolt action rifle, they can actually be cheaper than a custom 1022 build. So that's why I'm going to put it in a B or a B plus, I guess. Next up is a Ruger offering. This is their 1022 competition model. So as opposed to the other 1022 that we talked about, which is just their like normal off the shelf, like whatever, $200 to $300 1022. The 1022 competition is, I think, over $1,000 here in Canada, but it's pretty neat because of the dollar amount you have to pay for the competition model. Though I'm gonna put it at like a C plus because you can build a custom 1022 for about the same price, and it's probably gonna shoot slightly better. Next up, another Ruger offering is the American. This is really cool. Actually, I believe this is a production division rifle, so I missed the ball on that one. I'm pretty sure this is production, but I actually really like this rifle. This is the LR stands for, I think this is the long range target is what it's called. The Ruger American long range target. It's under $600 I want to say, which puts it in production. And I would actually put it up here with the Savages, like an A. If you're looking for a production level rifle, but you don't want a Savage, and perhaps you already have a 1022, so you already have a bunch of 1022 mags. It takes the same mags, and they shoot fairly well from what I've seen. So I put that up with the Savages. And next up is another production division rifle that I missed, is the Ruger Precision Rimfire rifle. So it is now this year a production division rifle. It was open last year, but it's there's nothing actually precision or match grade about it. It doesn't have a match grade chamber. In fact, the way the handguard attaches to the barrel nut, if you load into the rifle like on a bipod, pardon me, it can actually change your point of impact, which is like the opposite of what a precision rifle should do. The buttstock is kind of flimsy. Between the RPRR and the American, I would go for the American. It still takes 10-22 mags, both of them, so again, it's a cool option if you just like the tactical look. But I'm actually going to put this at like a C+. Yeah, I think it fits there because, again, there's nothing precision about it. The name is like not representative of what you're actually getting in the rifle, in my opinion. It's more like a tactical plinking toy than, you know, a precision rifle. Next up are the precision versions of the Savage A22 and B22. Now again, precision is in the name, so that's kind of what they're going for. And I've actually handled the B22 precision, and the trigger was surprisingly nice. The trigger was definitely the high point of the precision model of the B22 for me. And they both come with a chassis made by MDT, which is a lot more kind of tuned towards this PRS-Style shooting, which is really cool. The price points on them are also pretty good. However, because of their precision label, they are an open division rifle for ORPS here in Canada, and I think there's better options when you compare them, you know, to other stuff. So because of that, I'm going to put them like at a B to a B minus, both of them. Again, just one's bolt action and one's semi. I haven't actually handled the A22 precision in person, but if the trigger is the same or similar to the feel of the B22, you know, it just depends if you want a bolt or a semi. So I'm going to put them at like a B minus. Next up is the T1x UPR. So this is the same thing. The Tikka T1x and the CZ457 both have like an entry-level version that's in production, and they're kind of high-end version that's an open rig. So the UPR would be similar to like the CZLRP. Getting all my acronyms mixed up here. UPR, I believe, stands for Ultimate Precision Rifle. And the only thing they changed is the stock, essentially. I looked at the UPR and the MTR T1X side by side. The barrel profile is the same, which is by far the biggest disappointment to me. I really wish they put a heavy barrel on the UPR, but they didn't. It's the same barreled action, just in a stock that, in my opinion, is not as nice as the CZLRP stock. And not only that, it's more expensive by a little bit. And so because of that, not as good dollar value, not as good aftermarket support, and I think they dropped the ball with not changing the barrel profile going from their MTR to their UPR. So I'm going to put it at like a B minus. It was really promising when they announced they were coming out with an ultimate precision rifle version of the T1X, but it just didn't live up to the hype for me personally. And that leaves the three big boys, the custom actions that are 700 short action footprints, of course. We have here the Ultimatum Deuce, which was just recently released finally. The Vudoo rifles, so that's going to encompass all, you know, all the generations. And the Zermatt RimX. Now, the Ultimatum Deuce just finally came out into the wild, like I think a month and a half to 2 months ago. I shot the Northern Rimfire Series match, which was a 2-day 20-stage match with someone in my squad, Pascal, who has a Deuce, and it seemed to be running pretty well for him. It was reliable. I didn't really see any sort of issues in terms of reliability. However, at the match, another shooter, John, was also using his new Deuce. They got it like at the same time, and his was giving him some issues, more surrounding feeding. I talked to him afterwards, and it seems like the feeding issues was more to do with the magazine lips. So with some slight modification, it seems to be running well for him now, and Ultimatum is aware of that, so they're probably going to make some slight tweaks. And obviously when you release a new product, you're going to have to do a little bit of testing, right, out in the field, see what feedback you get. However, it seems like it's running quite well, and they're barreling them with an IBI barrel, which are known to shoot great, so I know they're accurate, and the actions again seem to be running good. They're not proven at all yet, obviously, because they're brand new. But if they continue to work well, they're Canadian. So that, again, soft spot for me being Canadian. I want to put this at like... So the thing with all three of these is they're roughly around the same price point for barreled action. We're talking around $2,500 here in Canada, which isn't cheap. So you're not buying these rifles because you want good value for your money. You want a custom action, kind of like the best of the best, to see how a custom action feels and you know, get that 700 short action footprint. So because of the poor value for all three of these, not just the Ultimatum, they can't be in the S tier, unfortunately, but they can be in A tier, because if you know what you're getting, you're willing to pay the price. The aftermarket support obviously is fantastic for all these rifles, and being Canadian's also pretty cool. I'm going to put it at a solid A for the Ultimatum Deuce. Not an A+, because I don't know why they named it the Deuce. That is the worst name ever for any product, firearms related or not. There's just so many jokes about the name Deuce. Hopefully it doesn't run like a Deuce, you know, etc. So we're going to leave it at an A. Next up is the RimX, which is has been out for a couple years now, and a lot of shooters here in Canada are using them. I've seen some shooters use them with great success, and I really like their magazines. The magazines with the RimX feel really substantial. They're well machined and designed. I like the adjustable mag catch that's built into them. That's the other thing with the Ultimatum Deuce, by the way, is the magazines seem to be over designed in some ways. Like it's like a magazine sandwiched with a larger magazine over it, and that's adjustable, and the mag catch is adjustable. And I had one for testing. It worked fine. I believe they did that because they're coming out with their own bottom metal that just takes the miniature magazine that's in the big AICS clamshell body. But it's just like super over designed and really expensive too. I think it's over $200 for one magazine. So, you know, with that in mind, I'm actually going to bump this down a bit to like an A-. But anyway, going on to the RimX. I've been hearing more and more things about their feeding and extraction issues stemming around their fixed extractor. Now, it seems like once you have it set up correctly and it's tuned right and everything is, you know, fit properly, again, this is with any 700 short action footprint rifle, they seem to run well, but I changed my mind. Before, I think in a previous video I said I like the fixed extractor because it seems like it's just like so beefy it would never break. However, now there's reports of them chipping and not cracking, but, you know, chipping so that they don't grab the rim properly. And the biggest downside of this, of course, is if a round jumps in front of the bolt face, because that extractor can't move out of the way, you can't single feed the round. It can't overcome the rim of the casing, obviously, so it's a little bit more prone to issues if you don't have it set up perfectly. So I'm going to put it at like a B+. I have tested a RimX for a very short amount of time. I think it was like a 2-week period or 3-week period. That one ran quite well. Again, so this is just my personal opinion. Again, I can't stress that enough. I'm going to put it at a B+. All right, last one here. Big topic is the Vudoo. Now, if you follow the channel, you will know that my Vudoo 360 had some ejection issues. I am very excited to mention that I think they have found the solution to it, which will fix it completely. I'm waiting for the new part to be sent to me once it's done done being machined. It'll be sent to me and I'll test it to verify it actually fixes it perfectly. But that's just for the 360. The previous generations of the V22 seem to work well. The biggest downside of the Vudoos to me are the magazines. They're not as good as the RimXs, and they're not as easy to load as the B14Rs. But I have a Vudoo, and I think I'm pretty confident it's going to be fixed. And once it ejects 100% of the time, it will be very reliable because it has always fed and extracted the casing from the chamber completely fine. I've never had any issues with that. The only issues I had was around ejection, and I think that's going to be fixed now. Again, more content to come on that And since I have one and I really like it, I've put almost 2,000 rounds through my own Vudoo now, plus some Vudoos that I had for testing for the Canadian Rimfire Precision series. I'm going to put it at an S-. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to put it at an A+, because I mentioned they can't go in S tier because of their price. So it's going to go in an A+ for me. Again, this is contingent on if they fix my 360 and it works completely flawlessly. Then it's an A+. If your Vudoo rifle is not, or any rifle is not reliable for PRS-Style competition, it's automatically like an F tier, because you can't run an unreliable rifle for these competitions. All right, so those are the big three. Ultimatum Deuce at an A-. If it proves itself to be reliable in the future and a lot of people are using it with good success, it could climb up, you know, to where the Vudoos are. The RimXs, just because of things I've heard recently with some issues, I think they need to work it out, and perhaps Zermatt might redesign the bolt nose a little bit or something. It's gonna stay at a B+ to me, and an A or A+ for a Vudoo because of my very biased views, and I paid good money for it, and hopefully it'll be fixed shortly. So this is my tier list for the rifles that I commonly get asked questions about or see on the firing line for PRS-Style competitions. I hope you guys enjoyed the fun little video. Again, completely different than what I usually do, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of share my thoughts on each one in this way. As per usual, let me know your thoughts and comments or questions in the comment section. I hope you at least were entertained. If this video entertained like a single human being, that was totally worth it, because I had fun discussing each of these rifles and my opinions on them. So anyway, take care everyone. I will see you in the next video. Cheers.